Hi, everybody. I'm Deb Wyatt with Electrify Your Strings, and today we've got a great episode for you. I'm not going to talk at all. We're going to let everybody share what's been working for them in with this online orchestra stuff. And obviously, if you are enjoying what we're doing and you're enjoying this series, please, please, please consider making a donation to the Mark Wood Music Foundation. It is how we're able to continue to bring these things to you during this time. And today I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves as we go through things, but we've got really fun programs. We've got fun activities to share with you. And of course, I do want to introduce my boss, the great Mark Wood, and he is the one who started Electrify Your Symphony. So we're really super excited that he has brought us all together in this. So Mark, do you want to say a little something?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Deb. It's great to be back for our third panel. And the responses have been so awesome. We want to keep this growing. And today is a special guest we have is my great brother, my older brother from, Glastonbury, Kansas City. No, Glastonbury, Connecticut. But I was speaking with Steve about a week ago about what he's been doing with his students. Steve's been teaching for many years in the school district there, and Steve will share that with you. But what I've found to be so fascinating is Steve's success with the one-on-one. So Steve, if you don't mind, I'd love to hear the way you describe generally what string teachers deal with and struggle with in school, where they're trying to leave classes, teachers are delaying them. A 30-minute lesson now is 20 to 15 minutes. Now it's a little bit different. So I'd love to have you share that with other things.
Sure. I am completing my 29th year in Glastonbury, Connecticut. I'm in two schools. I've taught in elementary, high school, and I eventually gravitated to the grades that I love most is 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Sometimes when I mention that I teach middle school, I would say ignorant people say, "Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that." And I said, "What are you talking about? I love middle school kids." So 6, 7, 8 is my bag. I've been doing that for probably over 20 years. So as time's gone on, our job as music educators, I feel in Glastonbury has become more and more of a challenge. We've adapted the best we can. Actually, all the kids have iPads in Glastonbury, and they're preloaded. Well, actually, at this point, they were not loaded with Zoom. We had to use Google Hangouts Meet, and I did that for 1 week. And it was unbelievable because this is what I heard every string player. And I couldn't deal with that sound. So I found out as much as I could about other platforms, and Zoom seemed to be a much better system. But what I discovered with Zoom lessons, I'm scheduling students the same time each week. It's not a rotating basis. They have a full half-hour lesson. I have no more than 2 kids in a lesson. I alternate, switch back and forth. One kid mutes themselves. They practice a certain section so I can give them feedback. I'm hearing the other kid. We switch back and forth. Tuning, they are much more self-sufficient now. It was pretty funny. The first couple of weeks, I had kids learning how to tune with pegs. So I had a couple of instances where a kid had to ask an older brother or sister to come in and turn the peg while they're plucking. But after like 20 minutes of sweat and tears, they actually could start tuning their own instruments. So that was a real eye-opener. But I had the time, 20 minutes versus 30 minutes. You would think, what's an extra 10 minutes? It's an incredible amount of time extra. The pacing, I find, is so much better. We've been basically starved of instructional time. And what has propped up our orchestra programs, and I mean, in our festivals, we always have tons and tons of private lesson kids involved. What happens, the concerts sound really good and it's impressive, but the private students are propping up our entire orchestra program. And that's unfortunate because if I told a parent in fourth grade, your student will not be successful unless you get private lessons, that's really counter to what we're supposed to be doing educationally. So what I found with Zoom lessons is that the mid-range to lower kids have made unbelievable progress. And I can unqualified success with Zoom lessons. They are more self-sufficient. They can't skip or ignore a lesson. I get on the phone and I call the house, and it's funny, they don't answer initially, but then I call immediately right after that. And then I usually have a parent pick up and I said, your son or daughter has a lesson now with me. And I say it really nicely. And my attendance is better. I've been able to go through the Essential Elements book for the first time ever, sequentially, page by page, line by line, like it's supposed to be taught. Because we're starved for instructional time previously, we were scrambling to somehow try to teach the orchestra music in the lesson. And without private lessons, these basic fundamentals were glossed over, and that just killed me. So I've been very, very happy with our success with Zoom lessons. Parents are not aware of the process. They just go to the concert, and if they're not on their cell phone checking their email, they're enjoying the concert. Many times parents are within earshot of a lesson. And how I know this is because I see the students' eyes kind of dart to the side occasionally, and I go, oh, is there someone else joining us for the lesson? It's like, oh yeah, my mom's here. Parents for the first time are really aware of the process in a much more intimate way. And it's fascinating to, all of a sudden a kid needs a pencil, an arm just appears in the screen with a pencil magically. So
Right.
I just, I don't have any more than two kids in a lesson, and it works out really well. But the thing is that this is so time consuming. Every day I teach between, I'd say, 5.5 and 7 hours of Zoom lessons for my sixth graders. I'm putting all my eggs in one basket, really. The sixth graders, if they don't continue and advance technically and musically, they're not going to be ready for seventh grade. It's the seed bed of my entire program is the sixth grade. But I'm trying to grapple with getting enough time and energy for my seventh and eighth graders. We're having some virtual string concerts where they're recording some of their orchestra pieces. My son Jacob is a computer whiz, and he's putting all these together for virtual concerts.
I love seeing the other teachers nodding their head in agreement to a lot of what you're saying. So hold on to that thought because I want to go to Aaron. But Steve, you're definitely sharing the performance aspect and the experience of Zoom, which is really interesting to hear that actually is empowering your kids with the instruments. And thank you for that. So Aaron, you're now using, explain what your platform you're going to share with us.
So our school district, we're fortunate to have Schoology as our LMS. So, a lot of places are using Google Classroom. Districts might be using Canvas. We utilize Schoology to kind of organize all of our materials. And one of the things that I've been really focused on outside of some of those individual kind of playing skills things is, I really believe that the beauty of music is our ability to communicate together and express with each other and perform. And that's really where, for me, the power of music lies, is in the togetherness aspect of it. So I was fortunate enough early on when our school did decide that it was necessary to move to online instruction, to run across a program called Soundtrap, which is online based. And in that program, I've used it in a number of ways. I'm going to just kind of briefly show and tell the last project that we did together with our high school orchestra. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. And I think I'll just do the whole desktop here. That might make it a little easier. So inside of my LMS, we have everything really laid out. And I moved this into a sandbox account so that there wasn't any identifiable information, student information. So, but this is what is in my students' accounts, and they have a folder where all of the music is. We actually were able to get this arrangement from a colleague, from Cory, who had done this piece before and arranged this particular piece of music. So we made some slight modifications, and I asked the students to do that in Noteflight. I also did it on the PDFs prior, and I kind of explained to them what they were going to see. And one of the things that we've been talking about over the course of our online experience together is creating, composing, communicating, improv. And so this particular piece of music is in the key of F. And I just found some really great resources from Berklee, actually the Berklee School of Music, that are online, that are free to educators. And so I put this PDF on here for our students. I don't know if it's going to load for you. It's coming on my end, but it's pretty slow. And we were able to go through this together. It's just a document that helps them understand the pentatonic scale. It has lots of questions and materials in there. There, I think you can see it now. And so it really just walks the students through what a pentatonic scale is, what it means. We were able to have conference sessions and individual appointments to go over it, almost like in a class session, but, you know, a shortened amount of time. And that was able to help them with understanding that. There's also a link that from Berklee that walked them through the pentatonic scale and the creative process with this particular ensemble. It's out there. You can find it. I won't show that to you right now because I'd really like to show you what we did with Where Is the Love, the arrangement that we were able to get from Cory. We do a project called Peace Week at our school. And so with everything that's going on, Peace Week didn't happen and there wasn't a way to really recognize the seniors. So what I wanted to do was have a way where we could create together, to be together in the closest possible synchronous moment that we could. And so what Soundtrap allows us to do, it allows us to create and record, save that material, and it's there within seconds or minutes. And I can see those changes, they can see those changes, we can communicate that together. I found a karaoke backing track company that a lot of DJs use and purchased an account. It was very cheap. The backing track you were able to purchase for $2.99, and it allowed me to customize it. So you'll see that I have a backing track that's vocals, no strings. I'll just play a short piece of that. So that's the backing track. I've taken out all of the string arrangements that were in as part of that. Okay. Then I have what I call the final backing track, which takes out the vocals. I also gave the students the full backing track with everything, the string arrangement, the vocals, so that they could hear what the Black Eyed Peas piece sounded like before we got started. What's wrong with the world, mama? People living like ain't got no mama. And I thought it was a really great piece to the drama. Only attracted to things that bring the drama together as much as possible could in this environment. Then what I asked the students to do, and is play the string arrangement parts. So we have those arrangement parts. And then I asked the students to, in the verses, since it's kind of a spoken rapped solo in the verses, was to come up with improvisation in the key of F major. And so we talked about the F major pentatonic scale, what you could do. I had one 10th grade cello player who was brave enough to let me share this today. And if you'll notice, one of the things that I really like about this tool is there's a part of his track that's a little discolored. Well, I've split that region of the track and I've highlighted it for him and muted it because there's actually a note in there that I don't think he meant to play. It sounds like an F sharp. So I got back in touch with him and said, hey, check your solo. Look where I muted that region. See what you think we could change there. And so we were able to have a dialogue about that performance aspect, right? And so we've got some viola parts in here, the second violin. We have somebody who put an improv in the third verse way down here. I played in the cello part. I didn't have any cellist yet that had turned in the full arrangement. So what we do is we just turn on the final backing track without the verses, and then we leave on all of those and hit play, and we kind of have that piece of music we created together. cello player, and when I get that, I have the ability to merge those tracks. So this is just a fun way for us to work right inside of our LMS. Now, I went to my account, but you'll see here, I'm back on my LMS screen, and I have it linked. I can pull that up, and you're going to see the exact same thing. The students don't even have to leave our platform. So right inside of our platform, they're able to access this. They're able to add to it. And when they hit save, we see those changes very, very quickly. And we can be in there and work on those together. So I'm going to stop my screen share there. I promise you when this loads, it will be the same material. There it starts to come. It's just the same thing in two different places. But it's been really, really fun to interact with my students through this platform where we can create together. It's the closest that we can come to making music together. And it's been a lot of fun. I think they've enjoyed it. We've gotten a lot of value out of the creative process and the community process of music.
Hey, Aaron, that was excellent. I'm sorry, Deb. I just want to ask Aaron this question. Did you find that the students had to go through a training to understand it, or did you find that they were savvy enough?
I did a short Screencastify recording of how to use the Soundtrap tutorial.
Wait, what did you call it?
Screencastify. It's a program you. Yeah. And I just did a short walkthrough tutorial. I think it was 3 minutes in total, and it kind of it showed them how to get from point A to point B to get a track in there. And so far, it's been very convenient. The biggest issue hasn't been student use. It's actually been getting the two to speak to each other. Soundtrap and Schoology having a little bit of issue there with the integration piece, but I think we've got it all figured out.
So, Aaron, how long did it take you to kind of figure out Soundtrap and be able to use it with the students? And I know that some of you guys are using it too, Heather and Cory. So y'all can talk about that as well. But just real quick.
With Soundtrap, for me, what I did when I ran across it, I created an account. I went ahead and did a personal account and an educator account, and I went through the tutorials. Soundtrap has a lot of tutorials right online for you, and they actually have an education tutorial so that you can become Soundtrap certified. I think those tutorials, I don't know, those videos maybe are 35, 40 minutes in total with some questions and answers that you have to get right in order to get through it. So I sat down one evening, I think it was a Saturday or Sunday, and said, I'm just going to go through this as best as I can, see what I can take away from it. And it was something I wanted to learn anyway, because I see the value in it down the road for my orchestra outside of the classroom. So what I intend to do with it moving forward is, we'll use the classroom piece for the opportunity to really dig into, our technical skills when we're together, some of those concepts that I know they probably aren't practicing as much as I would like at home. And this is going to allow me to create groups and combos and give them small projects where they can compose or improvise or play with these same kinds of tracks outside of class, and then bring that into the classroom for everyone. And I have, much like Steve was talking about with the Zoom lessons, we've done some one-on-one things for students individually. And one of the tools I've used is Soundtrap. We've given students duets to play, and I'll play line 1 and ask them to play line 2. And they record that in there and give it back to me. And prior to us getting together on those Zoom calls, or actually Google Meet calls, I can hear what the students have done. I know where they've had some difficulties and troubles. And so we can talk about the skills, the techniques to get a little bit better recording the next go round.
Cool. I love how you you use this opportunity to learn something new that was going to work and do some of the things that you wanted to do with the kids. So I think that's really cool. So, and I know that Cory, you said that you've also used it. So Cory, how about you tell everybody? Aaron, did you tell everybody who you are and where you're from?
I don't know. Maybe. I'm Aaron Wilburn. I'm from New Albany, Ohio. I teach middle school and high school orchestra.
Cory, how about you?
I'm Cory Zilisch, and I teach middle school in Louisville, Kentucky. And I've been using Soundtrap a lot recently. It's a program I've used with my kids before, but it's been nice to dive into it more with more of my students. And I'll share my screen here and show you guys some of the projects we've been working on. All right. You guys seeing that there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is my Google Classroom. I'll kind of start there. And if you're not using Google Classroom, I highly recommend it. It's a great way to communicate with the kids, and you can organize things, and it's kind of laid out like a lot of social media platforms, so the kids are familiar with that, and they can comment and ask questions and do all those things. And then in here, in my assignments, like one of our first assignments was getting loopy on Soundtrap. So the kids were just experimenting with adding loops, and I had some step-by-step instructions there. A assignment that we're doing this week, which should be interesting, is we're doing a create your own ringtone assignment, where the kids they pick a subject, favorite food, quarantine, school activity, whatever it is, and they're supposed to make like a quick little song about it. They can either sing it or rap it and play on their instrument. And we're going to share those with each other on Thursday, and I made like a little contest with it as well. And I've seen some of those already come through, and they're great. Let's see. Yeah. So when I go into Soundtrap, the great thing is you can easily see all your kids' projects as long as they add you as a collaborator. So if you set up your education account, make sure you set it. Make sure you set up all your students up with an account, and anytime they create a new song, they have to add you as a collaborator. You'll get an invite to it, and you can hop in that session and check it out, and you can even edit it if you want. I usually don't mess with their files. I'll drop some comments in there and some suggestions. But it's also nice on your main page here, you can see each project, and you can just hit the play button and it'll play the audio from that project. So I'll play, where's this one at? Oh, so there's this student created a theme. She draws these characters. So she created some themes, and she's got a bunch of these, but here was one of them that she created. And now it would do that. I had it loaded a little while ago, but I'll go into one of the actual projects in here. So you can see this student has spent a lot of time in here adding a lot of different pieces to her track, and she explored some vocal recording. You can see she used synthesizer sounds in here, and they even did some stuff with fading and stuff. Let's see what that sounds like. So she started out with some vocal effects. She used some piano. She gets into this. So part of this project is during class, the kids share these and they talk us through the project, and I'll share the screen for them, or I'll have them share their screen, and they kind of tell the other kids, their story behind this. And this particular student's project was about somebody dying, and it has some happy elements and some sad elements, and they were able to describe this project to us and why they chose the sounds they did. There are some really great lesson plans in Soundtrap. If you're in the educator view, you go to lesson plans and scroll down. There are already pre-made lesson plans that you can use that have the standards even attached to them. So here's, I'll click on this one, and you'll see this Google Doc pops up. There's your learning targets. There's essential outcomes, like things that administrators are looking for, and then a description of the process. Okay, and there's lots of these in Soundtrap. So there's a lot of the work's already been done for you. You can copy and paste all this information. And, I won't go through all these projects, but you can explore on your own. Highly recommend using that. Now, as far as like learning how to do it, like Aaron was saying, like there's so many tutorials within the app. Like the first time you open a project, a window pops up with tutorials, and you can choose to watch those videos or skip it if you want to just jump in. but it's very intuitive. If you've used GarageBand before, it works very similar to GarageBand. It just looks a little different. And the collaborative part of it's great. I'm going to do some projects where multiple kids are collaborating on the same thing and sending recordings in. Aaron and I talked about even like collaborating from orchestra program to orchestra program. So like pairing up one of my students with one of his students and doing some stuff from far away. That's not something kids are ordinarily asked to do or given the opportunity to like collaborate with kids that aren't from your city. So there's some opportunity there. And I have a feeling that we're going to be needing to use this stuff next year. And even if we're not in a NTI situation, I think it'd be helpful to incorporate into a normal classroom. Yeah, the other thing that I was asked to talk about was Kahoot. Do you want me to move on to that or answer any questions?
Yeah, if you could show us real quick about that, because I know you and I think Heather was going to talk about that as well. So
yeah, so I mean, I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with it. Most kids are used to doing Kahoots. But one of the ways that I've tried to engage my kids and families during this time, because we can't have concerts, is doing a weekly game night. And Kahoot is probably the best platform to do that on. I tried to look online for other quiz hosting platforms for trivia nights, and this is the one I could find where you could have like an unlimited amount of people playing. If you want to, these are public. If you want to type in my username on Kahoot and steal these trivia nights, steal them. There's my username right there, Cory Z-Man. And you can take these. And I've got videos in there. They play the video and you have to name the song, and there's other random pop culture trivia stuff. And a feature I want to show you guys that I found this by accident, and I wish I had known it a long time ago because it would have saved me time. If you're looking at all your Kahoots and hit a checkbox and another checkbox, this button pops up where it says combine. So I've started taking other Kahoots people have been creating, because I'm like, well, I want some questions from this category and I want some questions from this Kahoot. Well, I just took them and you can combine Kahoots. So like that changed my life once I found that button. I did not know it was there until like a few weeks ago. So my families have absolutely loved our game nights. They all gather around. It's fun to see all the families gathered around the computer on their couch, and they're all with their popcorn and cheering when they get the question right. It's just a lot of fun. So highly recommend Kahoot if you're not using it. You can use it in class to quiz the kids if you haven't already been using it, and they just use their phone or another device to answer questions, and it goes really fast, and they keep points like a video game.
But I love how you are continuing to create the community, the community piece of orchestra that everybody is missing because they can't play their instruments together. You figured out how to play together to continue to keep that community together, and I love that. You're not going to lose any of your kids at all, and I think that's so great.
I think that's really important. You know, yes, we're trying to teach them as much content as we can throughout this and inspire them to be creative. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we're human beings, and I think we need to be aware of that as well. And like you said, you know, keeping the community going, even though we're all stuck at home.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Cory. Heather.
No problem.
Heather, your turn. So
All right.
Tell us who you are and where you teach. And
Okay. My name is Heather Gonzalez. I'm over here in San Antonio, Texas. I'm here to talk about Flipgrid, Edpuzzle, and Google Form quizzes for you guys. All right. So come on, work for me here. Yeah, there we go. Real quick, for those who aren't familiar with Flipgrid, sorry. I know I'd heard about it in many different sessions, during the school year, but I never really used it very much in my classroom. So I'm really loving it right now. One of the biggest things I found is that I don't have kids who have issues uploading videos. Even in Google Classroom, there was always students who had issues with one thing or another. So I haven't had any problems. All my kids have a very easy time getting their videos up there. They can make it fun with stickers, etc. And then I find that it's even easier than Google Classroom in regards to commenting on their videos, giving them feedback really quickly. I feel like in Google Classroom, you get to click on a lot more things. And as you know, as you're grading a lot of things, you want to do at the least amount of clicking that you have to do possibly. Kids can view other kids' videos and give them likes. And a really cool function is something called mixtape, where you can choose certain videos that you kind of put together, again, like in a mixtape version, and it streams them all together, and you can share it with your admin very easily, which is really great. I've been doing that a lot so they know what I'm doing. Plus our admin doesn't really have a lot of interaction with students, so they're really loving seeing these kids that they miss. And plus you can invite special guests. So I'm gonna show you a little quick video. Here's an example of a project we had done, and we encourage family members to do it with our students. As you can see here again, it's really easy to go ahead and give them comments. You can do a video comment here, create a rubric, and give them feedback. And here's that little mixtape button you can do to create a mixtape. And here's a sample with our student teacher. Again, I had a special guest of our admin and student teacher on one of our projects. Hopefully it's gonna work. All right, here we go. This is a project on creating instruments out of things you found in your house.
Place to find the lovers at the bar is where I go. Me and my friends sat at the table doing shots, apart and then we talk slow. Come over and start up a conversation with just me, and trust me, I'll give it a chance. Now take my hand, stop, put down the man on the jukebox, and then we start to dance. And now I'm singing like, girl, you know I want your love.
My students love that student teacher. He was amazing. Okay, so to give you an idea, that was, again, our project was really fun because they're really pushing us on my campus to really do a lot of fun things with their kids so they don't feel overwhelmed with all their AP classes, etc. Moving on, again, Flipgrid, some ideas that I've done was like our kitchen concert, which you saw there, where we had kids creating instruments or using things that they found in the kitchen to make instrumental sounds. They could use background tracks if they wanted to or whatnot. And then we have, again, like, you know, playing tests or what they're turning in. But to make it fun, we've done like costume themes, like this week, you know, whatever you're gonna wear a superhero costume while you turn in your video, or the weirdest places. So I had some kids, I had one student who did her playing test in a dog cage, someone else in the back of a truck. So it's just really kind of fun. So the kids can see those. And something we're gonna do at the end of the year is have a talent showcase using Flipgrid. Now going on to Edpuzzle. So this is just something you can do, like as far as doing some really quick editing, like YouTube videos, so you get rid of all the other content that's on there, but so that you can really focus kids on the exact part of the video you want them to use. You can also see how much time they're spending on the videos. You can make it so they can't skip ahead, and you can create a quiz or add notes to videos, and it self-grades these quizzes, which I think is amazing when it comes to time. And I just jumped over that. So I'll kind of show you what it looks like. Here's all the students. It tells you what their grade was when they did it. And again, oops, a little video showing over here. Right here, preventing skipping so that they can't skip ahead. And then over here is what it looks like in the gradebook section. It tells you exactly how long they spent on it and what their grade was on that specific assignment. So here's just a real quick peek at what that looks like. We did something about bows, and here's how to make bows, just so you can see it really quickly. Found this great video. Down here are all the questions
The type of bow used today for instruments in the violin family originated in France in the 1800s.
Just give me a second. So it's going to get the questions will pop up exactly where you want them to. I put the answer, and then I click continue. And it's
the master bow makers of the day.
And then you can even add little notes, like, you know, a little more, you know, whatever. So we had that throughout that video, and then it grades it automatically for them. Moving on from there. Something kind of going the Bitmoji Google Classroom thing. I know Lisa's going to talk about virtual classrooms. You can also use the Bitmojis to come in and make your Google Classroom a little fun in regards to the banner. So there's that. And I want to talk about Google Forms, talking about self-grading quizzes. I use that kind of with the Edpuzzle, and it can also be self-graded in case you didn't know that. But make sure, lesson learned I learned this summer, over Corona break, was you have to use multiple choice. If you have any open-ended questions, it will not grade it automatically, and you'll be very sad if you already sent that out. there is a way to go through and grade that individually, which is fine, but then it will not load it into your Google Classroom gradebook. Just something to kind of like a food for thought in regards to that. So here's what that kind of looks like in Google Classroom. I have my Google form. We did a little workshop with Bayo String Quartet through YouTube. They watched the video, they interacted, and they had the Google Forms quiz that was graded automatically. So now integrating all three of those into something, here's an example using Google Slides. We had that how bows are made through Edpuzzle, and then we were doing 24 different bow terms. And so each term that I have in there, I have linked to a mini Edpuzzle video that's very specific, shows a little tiny video of that exact technique that they want. At the end, I had a Google quiz, and again, of course, that was self-graded. Give you a little quick peek if it will let me, what that looks like. I'm just gonna kind of skip through all this stuff here, blah, blah, blah. That's into your, the video that I showed you through Edpuzzle. And then
your bow is your most
through all this stuff.
For today, we're going to divide.
Pronounce all these things.
All right, so as you make your way to the next.
Reminding them to actually click these. So like the Tasha Kole will click on it and we'll take them to the Edpuzzle video, which is very specific part of the video I want to show them. So the kids watch that. And it was really interesting. I asked even my top level kids, it's like, how many bow terms did you actually know? They're like 3, but now they know 24. But again, they had to click through every single one of those so they could answer the quiz at the end. So I made sure that they were interactive in regards to that. And I guess if any questions about Edpuzzle or Flipgrid integrations, just let me know and I can share some stuff in the comments if needed.
So Heather, is this something that you think you're going to continue to use even, that you're going to continue to use when you go back to school?
Absolutely. Edpuzzle and the Flipgrid have definitely one way to make sure the kids are actually doing it, like in Edpuzzle where they can't skip ahead and there's those quizzes built in. But just to keep in mind, all these things are great, but just realize they are time consuming to create. But now that we're having them created, we can always reuse them, you know, from year to year, which is really great. And we have those.
Cool. Well, thanks. So I love the puzzle thing. I think I retired right about the time that people started using that. So I never got to make one. I borrowed other people's, I think. Okay, so Lisa, we're going to go to you. Don't forget to unmute yourself and tell us about you.
Hey, so I'm just being an example of someone whose internet went down in their home today. So I raced out to try to connect, and then I'm like, nah, just use my phone. So I teach 5th and 6th graders. I'm in Pasadena ISD in Texas, which is right. It's a suburb of Houston. It's a huge school district. I just got to say that they are heroes for all the hot spots that they gave their kids, and all the computers and things like that were passed out that weren't necessarily at home, that were kept in the classroom. And just wanted to say that first. I have 181 5th and 6th graders. I do teach with this amazing person, Lori Arnold, who I'm so thankful for trying to get through all this online teaching, because with her, just everything's been a lot easier. So I gave you guys a little video. Can y'all show that real quick, and that'll take y'all through everything?
Yep, I think we've got it queued up.
Great.
And like magic.
Uh-oh. All right, so I'm going to show you guys our platform for our 5th and 6th graders. We have 181 5th and 6th graders at our school. I'm lucky enough to have a great partner to work with, and I'm trying to get through and connect with all these kids. So I want to show you, first of all, real quick, our Google Classroom. This is what the kids see when they log in. If you haven't, I know most of you have seen Google Classroom, but in case you haven't, for you elementary teachers out there, this has actually worked pretty well. I've made a lot of videos showing the kids how to sign in. We try to do theme weeks. You know, we've, of course, had Star Wars Week. We talked about Mother's Day, sharing music. I'm going to show you Dino Week. These are sort of the basic instructions. I think having a theme is really important. And here's a little shout out. I don't know if you saw on that list, but practice your D major scale this week. Corey, thank you so much for those cool videos that you made. Yay. At the beginning of every week, we did a do this first video, but they had to fill out a form to get to the video. Cory Zilisch was so great to show us this. I know a lot of people use this and I love it. So we would do a video to introduce a week, and then we would ask a couple of questions, mostly kind of silly and a few throwaway answers, just to make sure they watched it. And since I'm supposed to focus on Flipgrid, so the kids, basically you give them a code to join your class. You create topics, and it's really important that you do baby steps with little kids, because when I first started, boy, I was ready to throw everything at them the first week. And man, I found out that just getting them to sign into the platform was a huge deal. So as the weeks went by, we decided to add Flipgrid. We had the kids send a message for their teachers for teacher appreciation. We got really good response. We had, tons of kids make their grid. Here's an example of Teacher Appreciation Week. Our kids, the assignment was to show appreciation to their teachers, so they used stickers. They typed, they did voiceovers, teacher. They made videos.
Mr. Kerner,
and then we were able to send the links to the teachers.
Classes,
and of course, the teachers really loved that.
Being in your class.
I wanted to show you the dinosaur one, since that's I wanted to show you here. They were supposed to make a video. So you can do a little instructions here. Lori, my working partner, set all this up for me. Yay, us. And we've got, let's see here. I want to show you a little bit of Isabella's video. I'm not going to have her play for you, but you're going to hear from her later today. But you can see the kids can add stickers, and then they play their exercise. They were supposed to show that they understood the difference between C sharp and C natural. And then you can record a response with stickers.
Great job. High five.
Ooh, yay. So you could do a response to the kids. Also, you notice the views here. They can watch each other's videos. So it's kind of neat. And they can also leave responses if you set it up that way. Here's a little sticker that I made for Dino Week in Flipgrid, and now a little bit of a lesson.
Holding your second finger close to 1. So this is what it sounds like. So here's the first one.
I want to go on to Kahoot. And this one we would use on Friday. We try to make Friday our fun day. You can, I made a silly orchestra Kahoot. This is just an example. Basically, they log in with their phones. So you're in Zoom together. You get them to log in their phones. I'm going to log in real quick so you can see what it looks like. You got fancy music, kind of a party atmosphere. They're always sleepy, but we do our best to try to keep them awake. I'm going to just sign in as me, and I'm going to start my Kahoot. And then basically they use their phone as their controller, and they go through the quiz. We tried to add funny answers as well, like off club, okay, because these are 5th and 6th graders. So we tried to make it fun, click it on their phone, and then it keeps a tally of the high scores as you play the game. Okay, and this is the thing I'm really proud of. We just added this weekend. Everyone's all about the Bitmoji classrooms. So played around with that this week. We came up with this one. We do Staff Wars every week. If you know that, it's a little space game where they shoot the notes. They have to report their scores and show us a screenshot every week. So that's up there. And Gradebook is something really fun that was just introduced to me by Vicki Campbell. By the way, Vicki, thank you for sharing your classroom so I could start our classroom so easily. Vicki, you're amazing. Thanks for letting this be easy for us. So they click on different, any instrument they click on, they then can go to a number of concerts. And I thought this was going to be, I'm so excited about this because sharing music with kids and getting them to listen to music is just such a big deal. So we have, they click on their instrument or an instrument, violin classical concerts, orchestra classical concerts, movie concerts, pop, rock, and other styles, and musical comedy. So, and since Mark, you're leading this video, you can see that they can go to some really cool videos here to go to YouTube. And then I went back to class so they can get back over here.
We've learned so much this year, and I'm really excited about the kids and learning to be online, and I look forward to using more in the classroom.
Cool.
So that's about it.
Wow.
Wow.
I can't tell you, I mean, where we would be without Zoom and being able to be face-to-face with the kids. I just, gosh, I'm so thankful that we have that in our time. But I do plan on using a lot of this. As soon as school starts, we're just going to be moving along online and in class live. So looking forward to the time where we can all be together. But it's not impossible to teach the kids online. It's definitely not impossible. It's a little trickier, but you know, even the young ones, they're doing a great job.
I love that you guys have all taken this time of what could have been and what is, you know, really stressful. And y'all could have just gone, you know what, can't do it, not going to do it. But you've been creative, and you've had to figure out how to keep your students engaged and involved. And that is so exciting that you guys have done that. So bravo to you guys. So we've got one more teacher who's going to share, and then we're going to hear from some kids to find out what they liked about online orchestra this year. So Jonathan, if you could tell us who you are and where you are and all that.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Petersen. I'm the orchestra director for 6 through 12 in the Whitefish Bay School District, which is just north of Milwaukee. And one thing I wanted to share was how I've been using SmartMusic. So I'll share my screen with you. And here we go. We'll just do I'll do the whole screen so I can, there we go. And what I did is we did a choose your own adventure. So I just put this in a Google form for the kids to use. And then I included JW Pepper links just so they could preview and listen to the song. So they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They had 6 or 7 depending. I had a middle school version of this too, but and then if some of them wanted to do the 2-song challenge and do 2 pieces, I gave them that option. And so they selected their piece, they filled out the Google form, and then one really cool feature about SmartMusic is you can assign specific students to specific songs. So it made it really easy for me to do this project with the kids. And so this is what SmartMusic looks like. And I have all my classes set up, and I'll just go into here. So here is, this is what it looks like. So we have the custom assignment, and then what I would do then is, if I wanted to assign it to somebody, we have the same setup for parts, and then there's also a custom setup. And then when you're going through, as it's loading very slowly, sorry. When you're going through, then we have this setup, and then you can choose to have it set up. We have a guitar part, and then there's multiple different parts to go from. And the cool thing is here, I'll just play it real quick so you can kind of see what it looks like. So then, yeah. So it gives the students an opportunity to play along with multiple parts, and then when you're setting up the assignment, I have it set up for this, and then you set up the points for the students, and then you can choose to assign. And here we have, I could set it up for whatever class that I'm using. And let's just say I'm assigning it to the chamber orchestra, and then I could assign it to everybody, or I can choose to assign it to some students. So then going back, when you're selecting a piece of music, you can also just use the search bar. Well, I did Romeo and Juliet with the kids earlier. And then here's the arrangement that we did. So you can just open up any assignment in here. And here, I'll do it for bass. And then students can also access this, so they can all go in through and access it that way. And then, sorry. So then here's the setup in SmartMusic, and then they have different options here, but then you'd be playing along with the whole ensemble and it will grade you. Idea of what that looks like. So it is really a good program. I think it's really nice. The kids can just follow along. They don't need, I had a lot of frantic emails at the beginning of this process of not having any of their sheet music. And I said, and my answer back was, don't worry about it, we're good. So, and because then they have access to all of the music through SmartMusic. So it was really nice. And there was a piece we were actually working on, and we were about 4 hours away from being able to perform it, and then the concert got canceled, and so then the kids still had the opportunity to perform that music. So that was nice as well, because it was in SmartMusic. So that's kind of the short version of SmartMusic.
Cool. Well, we have Fred here from SmartMusic, who is actually going to be in a special meeting next week. But Fred, is there something that you want to piggyback on what Jonathan said?
No, it's Cory, you mentioned it at the beginning, like the sort of the choose your own adventure element, and my mind immediately went to that. The assigner right now doesn't really do that. And then Jonathan, hearing like the way that you're integrating Google Forms to to sort of facilitate that, and then use the sort of the custom assignment to get kids exactly what they're interested in. That's just a fantastic way to hear about exposing kids to more content, getting them involved in listening to stuff, and sort of being more involved in the music that they're sort of getting to play. I think it's fantastic. It's really cool. As far as next week, I'm open to whatever would make sense to the group. I'm happy to talk about anything, or speak to any parts of the program, or the assigner, or the content, or the project that we're working on with Mark Wood here. Pretty much I'm available.
Great. Well, we look forward to having you. I mean, I think technology, everybody has been you either have the people who are super comfortable with technology already and going into this, and they're like, let's go. And then you have other people who've really been struggling and trying to figure out what's going to work for them and how they're going to continue to do what they do. So I'm excited to really be able to talk about technology next week. So before we go to the kids, do you guys, I would really like to hear real quick what this experience, the positive stuff about being online, and what are you going to continue to use even when you go back to school and are in class in person?
I know we talked about this last week in our session, is just being able to see kids on an individual level as far as their musicianship goes. We're not having to make the whole ensemble sound great, which is often a pretty large focus as a instrumental director. You're worried about how does that group sound, and sometimes some of the kids slip through the cracks, especially if you've got larger groups. And it's been nice to be able to have the time to do a video chat with individual students, or watch their video submissions, which when we get into the full swing of school and we're teaching 6 hours a day, you don't always have time to do that. And that's something that I want to be able to try to incorporate in my classroom more next year, especially now having a lot of practice doing that for myself and my students.
Okay, cool. So being able to have that one-on-one piece of it. Anybody else?
Well, I mean, I definitely would like to incorporate SmartMusic as my assessment tool. I think it's a really productive way of time where it wouldn't, I don't have to shut down the class to listen to kids for assessments. They can just do that on their own, send me a tape or send me a cut that they're comfortable with and they feel good about, rather than spending that time that way. You can even do auditions that way. And I think that's a really useful, I'm definitely using that as a tool, and it's something that I've used for years, but not to this capacity. So it's definitely something that I would continue using. Cool.
Anybody else? No. Aaron. Go ahead, Steve.
I used SmartMusic a long time ago, and my supervisor and I, we played a line as in tune as we possibly could, and it said that we played, maybe 3 notes out of tune, and we shook our heads and dismissed it. But I think at this point, I just got a free subscription to SmartMusic, and I'm going to really pursue. I mean, my mind is literally blown with Soundtrap, Edpuzzle, all these things that people have shared today. My head is just exploding with possibilities, so I'm just super excited.
Great. Well, we hope everybody else is too. I mean, we've been able to generally talk about things, but I was really excited about having specifics. And there was a question that came in on Facebook, you guys, for ear training, and that's one of the things that's really needed. And how did you guys? Is there something that you guys have been doing during this time for ear training? Anyone?
I can just tell you from my music theory class in the high school, we use musictheory.net, and there is ear training, and of course it's music theory. So if you're doing chords, intervals, those kinds of things, there's a lot on that. He said, and talk to the choir directors. They have, I think, the best resources for ear training, I imagine, as far as, we have to internalize what our pitches are. So I think the choir directors would be the ones to go to for those resources.
Okay. Mark, isn't the call and response actually something that can be used for ear training as well?
Without question. We're actually prepping stuff for SmartMusic of me doing call and response, but without question, call and response is a critical element that everybody should do. But what I like to do is I like to mix it up without a specific melody line, just throw melodies that are obscure and see how fast I can pick up on it. And it's the best tool to get your ear really cued in.
Cool.
I want to hear our little rock stars I see here.
So we have a question for you guys, and I know that y'all are all from all different backgrounds and different states and everything, and so we want to know, what is it about the online orchestra that you've liked, or what's been really different, maybe in a surprising way, like you didn't think you were going to like it, but it's like, hey, this isn't so bad. But what's been a positive experience with your orchestra experience? Let's see, who should we start with? Let's see, Jonathan, you said your student needed to leave early or by a certain time?
Well, yeah, she has another commitment. So it's Claire and Karen.
Okay. So why don't we start there?
Hi, so I'm Claire, and this is my mom, Karen. And yeah, we're part of Mr. Petersen's orchestra class. And I think one of my favorite sort of positives that I didn't realize I would have liked coming into, orchestra class being online. And at first it seemed like, music has to happen live and it's never going to work. But something that has been really positive is, I think, your use of SmartMusic, Mr. Petersen, because it's nice that on one hand to still be able to play along with like a whole orchestra sound and to hear not only your part being played, but you can turn off your part and play along and still feel like you're, you know, part of something and you're playing along with a greater piece of music. But also, I really like how Mr. Petersen, whenever we do have assessments on SmartMusic, it's not just the, you know, somebody brought up that, you know, you try to play it as in tune as possible and it still tells you, you know, oh, those 3 notes were off. But even though the computer program is picking up on something like that, for whatever reason, Mr. Petersen really goes beyond and he listens to everyone. And, you know, listens and then gives comments and tells you this was the best thing that you did and this is what you can continue to work on. And then I think on another note, something that I really loved that I feel like would be great to continue on even as schools reopen is the master classes that Mr. Petersen has been, you know, hooking up not only high school orchestra, but middle school, and we're all able to watch different musicians from around the country talk about their, you know, their life in music industry. Today we just listened to Sunyi Nubel talk about, you know, how she has been making a career in music and in the film industry. And we also got to speak with Tracy Silverman. And we're going to do one with Mark Wood coming up too. So it's something that I didn't realize would be so cool to do, but I think it would be great to continue on even after the whole lockdown's done.
Awesome. So it wasn't as bad as you thought it was going to be.
I think I wasn't anticipating that it was going to be like bad, but right. I just thought it would be hard to switch over, because that's kind of the one negative that I've found with online is that I really do miss playing as a whole group and having a conductor. But I think the switch over was so much. I mean, Mr. Petersen made it look easy when some of my other teachers, it took some, you know, figuring out, but it's been a really smooth transition, I think.
Well, that's great. Well, I know your teachers have missed y'all too. They've missed that aspect as well. So it's not just you guys who are missing it. They are all missing it as well. So, Mom, did you have anything that you wanted to share?
Well, I just want to say to Mr. Petersen how much I've enjoyed the master classes. Claire usually does her school in her room, but she's brought master class out to the kitchen, and Claire has 2 other sisters at home. So we feel so honored that we've been able to listen and learn from them too. So that might be something I miss when school all goes back to the way it normally is.
Well, hopefully Jonathan will keep it in his routine, and maybe other teachers out there as well, because there are musicians all over the world who would love to connect with students and families too. So I think that's a very good point, is that it's not just the students, it's the whole family who gets to be in on it and hear from these great artists. So awesome. Well, thank y'all so much for being with us today. Okay.
Thank you.
You bet. All right. So let's see. So we started with high school. So Heather, let's go to your student.
Hello, I'm Nicholas. This is my mom. And I would say like something pretty good about all this distance learning stuff with the music is that the ability for us to kind of focus on our own selves. Like I've been doing a lot more ear training with the pieces, and I've actually learned how to pick up on other parts of the orchestra and play those. So like we're doing this song called Melrose Avenue, and it has a drum track, and Miss Gonzalez actually asked me to make the drum track from scratch. So making that was fun, and when I had that, I just had the bare drum track and my first violin part. So on my own, I'm starting to pick up all the other parts and put those together on my own, and also because of that, we're doing it together as a group with all the other parts. So it's really great to just be able to hear it from 2 perspectives.
So it sounds like. Go ahead,
Nick,
Mark.
by the way. I want to shout out to Nick, man. This guy is awesome. Next year, we're going to do it.
Oh, for sure.
Next year, Nick, we're going to do that piece that we talked about live in front of real people, not a screen.
He's so excited.
So, Nick, so do you think that your musicianship overall has improved because you've had opportunities that you may not have had in the regular classroom? Like in the regular classroom, you focus on your violin, right? But I'm just curious, what do you think has happened with your musicianship abilities?
Oh, for sure. It's yeah, they've improved so much. I've learned how to just like pick up on how to just play along and find like melodies within chords and all that, because now I mean within the past 3 days I've already written like 2 or 3 songs already written and recorded. So it's fun to just be able to pick up and play and go right away. And I think because of all this distance learning, I'm able to pick up on other parts, what fits with what better than in the orchestra where we have sheet music. So it's always a blast.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, we love you. You know that. You're a massive improvisation. Nick, if y'all, those of you who are watching at ASTA, there was a major concert with major players, and they said to the audience, hey, if you want to come improv with us. Well, none of the adults got up there. Nick grabs his instrument, heads up to the stage, and blows everybody away. Everybody was like, this kid. I mean, it was awesome. So it was really fun being able to watch you. It was great. Yeah. Okay, so let's see, who else do we have in the bottom corner down there, at least on my screen? Mr. Zilich's student. Introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Hector Gomez Fisher, and I'm with Mr. Zilich. Hi, Mark.
And I'm Melissa. I'm his mom. Hello, ladies and
Hi,
gentlemen.
Melissa.
Hi.
Okay, so Hector, tell us about your experience.
So something I'm positive about the NTI. At first, I didn't like it because mostly I like more school better. But the positive to this is that we got to experience more technology, because in my class, we don't experience that much technology. We got to learn different technology, what it can do for us. We can do more and better with our music. And also, we got to see many musicians in our classes, like on Mondays, we call it Master Mondays, where we got to meet all these times big musicians that we normally don't get to see. Like normally you get to see like one a year, but we got to see tons. So that's why I think that's the positive about NTI.
Cool. Yeah, it's expensive to have artists travel to your classroom, and it's great when we can do that, because nothing can replace in-person working with an artist. But being able to have more experiences with more people and getting to learn from all those different people, it sounds like that'd be great. So awesome. Anybody else? Lisa, is your student still on, or?
Oh.
There she is. Unmute yourself. Are you muted? Hang on, let's see.
Hi, my name is Isabella Pena, a cellist.
Hey, welcome.
Thank you.
So tell us about what you've what you've liked, what you've loved about online learning with music.
What I have liked on online learning would probably be Flipgrid. Flipgrid is very fun because we can see how other kids are playing, and we can learn from each other. I have been able to identify a little bit the difference between the sounds of other instruments.
So is that something, being able to distinguish other instruments, is that something that is new because of the online learning?
Yes. Before online learning, I have been able to, but it was very, very hard to. But with Flipgrid, I have been able to do it a lot more easier now.
Awesome. Cool. Well, okay, so final messages to the teachers out there who maybe have struggled with online learning and teaching music online. Mark, do you want to start?
Absolutely. Just real quick observation as we are reevaluating education in general, which is so interesting at time right now, that we're not only reevaluating what we do as teachers, but each course is going to be reevaluated for the future. Our music courses are critically important, and to be able to listen to the variety and diversity of the music and the students is the future. No more rich white people in the castle playing classical music. Strings are going to be changing it forever, incorporating everybody to the magnificent experience of a bowed stringed instrument playing in tune and rhythmically accurate, but also integrating world music into our learning. That is the key. And our students here are the example of the world, guys. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Any teachers, y'all have any final words to end our today's meeting? Oh, come on. Heather.
Real quick, to teachers, don't feel overwhelmed. I know this is new for a lot of us, and we're showing you what works, but we didn't show you the things that are failures, and we didn't show the trench, learning as we go. We all have that. So just don't feel overwhelmed that you have to be this perfect teacher all of a sudden online. It is a learning experience. As long as your kids are showing up, as long as your kids are happy and you're interacting with them, that's a win. So just so you know, you're all amazing. All the teachers out there who are working, we're cheering you all on. So that's my big thing.
Cory, you look like you want to say something.
Yeah, I'll add on to that. And if you are feeling overwhelmed, that's totally normal. Like myself, I'm pretty tech savvy, but this experience for me has been overwhelming, and I don't feel great about it every day. I try to be as enthusiastic as I can, but some days are tough. So just know that you're not alone in that. I'm sure everybody in this room can agree to that. But look online. There's Facebook groups. There's so many resources out there. Steal ideas from others. That's what we do as musicians and teachers, and that's what helps us get better as a whole. So just keep fighting the good fight.
Yeah, I would tag onto that also. I saw it as an opportunity for me to practice improv skills away from my instrument. When we went into online learning, I had to come up with something that would engage my students. And like Heather said, there were lots of things that I tried that maybe weren't as successful as I hoped, but you just don't stop. You go to the next idea and you develop it as fully as you can, just like we do when we're learning to improv and create something, right? You just keep trying and you keep creating, and you never stop because you love it. And I think that's what a lot of teachers are out here doing. They're doing the best that they can with the tools they've got. So just keep on going, music teachers. You got this.
Exactly. And we will keep being here and hopefully being a good source of information for you guys. Like I said, next week we're going to focus on some technology, getting into some specific things about technology, talking to teachers who've gone far and above what everybody else is doing. It's amazing. So we really, really, really appreciate all of you for being here. Thank you, teachers and students, for sharing. And we will see y'all next week. Please email me if you have any questions, or if you want to get some of the sources and things. I'm Deb at markwoodmusic.com. And don't forget, if you like what we're doing, we would love to have some donations to the Markwood Music Foundation. So thank y'all so much. We'll see y'all next week. Bye.
Thanks, Deb. Bye.